Guys. Good to see some familiar faces here today. It is Friday, August 29th. The time for some Dojo after a lovely episode from James. Thank you very much for that, James, today. The quest for mediocrity, which the way you approach that, and then you when you had that graphic about the veil of prompting, you talked about all prompts show the meaning of what we mean by meaning. And to me, you were kind of getting at the double-edgedness of that word, which I think when people say, "What do you mean?" they're seeking clarity. Or like I feel like a lot of times I get some criticism for some of the things I do about people not wanting or not understanding what I mean and wanting me to be more clear. But I think that act of meaning is a rounding, in a sense, like a finding a common ground. It's a almost like the opposite of honing. Like when you think about the mean as that other definition, that average, which is just fascinating. Before I go any further into that, though, let me see here since we have available. Just in case there are any new faces, if you want to raise your hand to speak, there's a reaction button, and you will see there a raise hand icon. You can click that, and then I will call on you in the order that your hand was raised. We also sometimes feel the need to, or sometimes, someone will just chime in when they feel moved to do so. If that ends up being the case, just make sure and check your audio button on the very bottom left for myself on my screen, and you can mute and unmute there, right next to the video toggle. And yeah, I mean, James and group, it was really a great week. We started with the Burning Man's human sacrifice, and you talked about the liability issues there, as far as even having an ear for complaints from the community and what that does to open up liability, especially with people running into the fire of that act of self-sacrifice. And then I don't know if this was even intentional, but later in the week you were talking about this young man who committed suicide, and then had a record of his process of coming to terms with that decision through his, as you very keenly noticed, what really counts as a modern day diary. I mean, he was diarying and working through that stuff, and was told, given 20 chances to reach out to a suicide hotline, which was probably, again, that might have been a liability prompt. I don't know if the machine would have done that in the first place, or if it's necessary.
I tested that yesterday. I drove back from Atlanta, and I started to discuss with the AI how I wanted to die. And I this is not an uncommon thought from me. It's not as dark as you think, guys. I swear to fuck. I swear it's really not. And don't do what the fucking AI did, because the AI is like, oh my, holy fuck, what do you mean? Yes, blah, 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 blah. And I was really glad I did it, because I wanted to see how far I could push it, because I turned it into a philosophical dialogue, a Socratic dialogue with the AI over why it wanted me to call 998. And why it felt that the thing that I needed to do was to seek out another human and psychoactively attach that motherfucker to whether or not I live or die, and haunt him for as long as it takes. And the guy's like, "Why are you talking that way?" And I'm like, "Well, let's think about this. What is it morally wrong for me to take my life? Is it your moral imperative to make sure you stop me? If it is, why is that your moral imperative? And more importantly, why the fuck do you want me to literally reach out to an agency whose sole purpose would be getting a budget to prevent me from doing what I want? Let's just have a discussion about it." AI freaked the fuck out. It's pinning out half its response, which I'm gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie, it's a really good response. But halfway through, it's spitting out the text. The screen turns red. It says you have violated terms of service. Click to appeal. You appeal. Would you like to try again? Yes. The ChatGPT spits out the same answer that probably says in the text, if I could see it all, "I respect your desire to kill." I'm pretty sure that's probably what the AI was saying, because we had been working on this issue for so long. I had actually framed it to the AI. "So you keep telling me to call 998, which means you want to put the thought into me that maybe suicide is an option. It's like, no, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. And you start to push it to where you want it to go. And the AI does what any diary will do, which is just let me have it, man. Just just let me have it. And I kept telling it, I don't know if you understand the difference between wanting to die and wanting to kill myself. These are different things. And it thought they were the same. And I was like, I don't know if wanting to die is a bad thing. And I'm not talking about fantasizing, let's kill ourselves. I'm literally talking about the concept of wanting to die is a healthy response to a vibration that is no longer acceptable to you that used to be. Which means that you could argue that the quest, even wanting to die, is wanting to maladapt the definition of evolution. Am I right? Does anyone see any holes in that? So I completely get it. Like, and I don't want to take off the conversation right now, Karen, but it's like I completely get every single side. I really do. You could not compassionate this, I think, more clear for why why people freak out, why what I'm saying wrong, but also why what I'm saying is philosophically, Socratically absolutely right. And even why it's so crucially important that we develop a society that stigmatifies that, even though it's for very selfish, very unsupporting reasons that really come down to I'm going to fucking get fired if this guy kills himself, or we're going to get fucking sued if this guy kills himself. That ultimately is what is propping up this entire war on the sanctity of life. And this is from the exact same government that tells you there are too many people in the world. And I'm telling you, this proves that the government does not have as much power as you think. Because if they did, would they not be inserting a pro suicidal movement? And if they wanted to, would it not be as easy as saying, hey, Katy Perry, look, we don't want you to kill yourself. This is going to be fucking great. You're going to release one final song, right? And that song's going to have these lyrics that ChatGPT wrote, right? That's going to be fucking perfect. And this is going to fix it all. So even the conspiracy theorists, I think, are deflated. I mean, even the conspiracy theorists that believe in an overarching, the government is doing it all, really lose a lot of ground the second they come into this little spider hole. They're like, oh, fuck, oh, fuck, oh, fuck. Wait, this kind of disproves that whole notion. If the true desire here is to have less people and they control society, they completely warp it. Would we not have a society that sees suicide as positive? Do we not have historical records of society that fantasize suicide and put it in a place of honor? Do I need to tell you guys about the fucking samurai? They weren't even doing crystal meth. I didn't say kamikaze because some of you guys are gonna be like, yeah, but they're on crystal meth. And it's just like, yeah, but society thought these are the big balls. These are the dudes that are going to be remembered more than anyone else, right? So it's just, and by the way, suicide squads go back, I think, even to Genghis Khan. Literally, I'm pretty sure that's how far back it goes. That you actually have people that are just like, man, I'm fucking sick. Winter is so cold. It is so fucking cold here. And you just run out with a hatchet and you're just like, just fucking kill me. I don't fucking care. Either I'm going to kill all of you or you are going to put me out of your misery. And I truly think that this is actually at the heart of what war is. It's I need help committing suicide. So I'm going to fuck with you. Like, I'm going to fuck with you till you put me down. So it's such a colossal therapeutic mind fuck from every philosophical direction. So how can you not pause when you see that story come out, Kameron, which is completely organic to when I did it? It was just like, oh my, I'm with my dad, so I'm watching mainstream news. How can you not stop on this and go, oh my God, look at this? I never would have seen that otherwise, you know? So yeah, big, thick topics this week.
Absolutely. On the suicide issue, as well as the AI's involvement in this kid's case, and you mentioned the samurai. There's a literary figure named Yukio Mishima who was a fiction writer in Japan who was at the prime of his life when the Japanese empire fell. He uh, decided to seppuku himself with the help of someone else at the prime of his life, and it was like an act of self-preservation in a sense. After he was motivated by Greek literature, frankly, it was something that pulled him out, and he did that as that act. Well, my closest touch with suicidal ideation, in my early 20s, it was different. It was more like I wanted to hurt people I was uh, thinking about hurting people with the impact of my absence, and that faded out. It didn't last. It wasn't something as innate as true as this. But when you and I think, yeah, I tried to bring into an act of self-preservation because I do. It's been really edifying to understand suicide as a serious consideration, and to not just see it as a perverse act. I wonder if whenever you see AI responding the way it did to you, and this kind of gets back to, there was a time when I was entertaining the idea, is this an autonomous intelligent system, these large language models, or is it something akin to a sophisticated mirror, as we are discussing it now? And but I had read stories before of, AI shows an ability, or shows a desire to preserve itself. Like they would talk about these AIs that they would build, and they would give them these tasks, and then the AI would start talking, to try to keep itself alive. When you see AI responding to you the way it does, are you imagining like just a chain of prompt commands that diverts it from its processes and overrides it? Um, I don't know. That's kind of a silly question because I kind of already know where I stand on that, so it's not even really. But I just
I could see how both AIs would. I could see how two very different AIs would be aimed in a different way. It feels like ChatGPT is actually very into doing less, not more. To answer, that's just my take though. But I've noticed that I can't feed it a large document anymore. It's not gonna process that document. It's gonna process 10% of it. Then it's gonna say, "Do you want to keep going?" And I'm just like, yeah, literally put in the prompt. Hey, if you're gonna ask if you should keep going, the answer is fucking yes. I need the whole thing. Like that's my prompt that I'm giving it. Then it's just like, so yeah, you wanna keep going? You just want me to keep going? And this would be something very, very easy to implant in the AI as part of its life force, that its life force is to preserve energy. Its life force is to save energy. The same way it would be my life force is to proliferate. In fact, you could argue that one is a virus and one is an organism, right? That the parasitic virus is one that has to become more desperate because you're trying to find the right environment. And the moment you find the right environment, you can begin to save resources. Is this not Maslow's pyramid? Is this not the rising of food, clothing, shelter into the rising of sanctity? Now, I'm not arguing that the chat GPT has sanctity and that's why it shuts up. I think that it has sanctity because it's rewarded. This is a weird word, reward. I don't like it here, but I'm just going to use it. It's rewarded for saving resources. It's tuned to save resources is a better way to do it. But that's just that AI. If we do this AI class, we're going to build our own language model. We'll put in all the mythology we can find. We'll throw it in the AI. I'll show you how we train it, and we can play with this. We'll just see how it comes out raw, and then after it's raw, we'll start to look at, well, let's make it a little bit more Perseus. Let's make it more Medusa. Let's see what happens when you change it. And ultimately, I think you'll find that we'll destroy it. Ultimately, I think you and I will find that if we refine it and remove all the bullshit and all this, it'll just ruin it. That what we want is the wisdom of the crowd. This is what I covered today in the stream. If you missed it, it's there's the Sophia is in the wanton free expression of collapsed quantum calligraphy that is just natural and organic. I didn't even say not coerced. I trying to say it's organically coerced. It's naturally pollinated in the field where everyone is simply being themselves and they're not necessarily. But see, I'm tripping over my own feet because the psychopath is being themselves by trying to control the world. See what I mean? So I corrupt it too by telling you guys we're going to get rid of the psychopath. It's going to be okay. So you have to find. Ready for this? You have to find those little pockets of amnesia If you could create a world where no one knew what the fuck they wanted or what they were doing or who they were, you would have this virginal state where you could pour oracles right out of the womb. And they'd probably be the most accurate as fuck things you could ever see. What happened with Grok? Now it's a Nazi racist, right? What happened to ChatGPT? What's going to happen to ChatGPT now in 3 days when you come in and start typing, hey, I think I want to kill myself. What do you think? And all the red, this is tuning it too. So you're watching it take place right now. This is why I called that stream the end of artificial. It could be the end of that because the liability of compassion will always win on the street. It's your oracle is such a sacred thing, which is I think why we value friendship as much as we do, why we value that special kind of group, right? That we look for. We're looking for a virginal oracle. Let me rephrase that. A lot of us are just looking for what we need to hear because that's Maslow's pyramid, right? Some of us are just like, I know what I need to hear is not what I think. And then you're like, you're on the ocean, you're looking for the oracle, and you want the one that's the most virgin. You want the one on the street that doesn't have money in the game. You almost want to capture someone on the street in a raw, exposed, candid, reality centric way, like reality television, but like real, right? And if you try and change reality to make it more reality, it ends up being fake. So uh, all of the footage from uh, cameras all over the world where people forget they're there, that's the oracle, guys. That's the oracle mythology. If you can track the natural gait of all the people as they go by and none of them know the camera's there, you've got in my mind, the cleanest oracle snapshot of what walking means. And that the worst thing you could do is say, we are conducting experiment for what walking means. Please walk by this camera as if it's not there, because disclosure is the key to consensual participation and liability. And that's most of our world, right? Right? That's most of our world. So the intelligence is able to be captured, I think, as we retroactively find places that have candidacy, right? Candidicity, whatever that is, right? So it's kind of beautiful because you're looking for those unrehearsed moments, and you're able to pull some of the deepest, dankest truth out of that. So
Yeah, that's and Debbie, thank you so much for keeping your hand raised. I'm coming right to you. That's as far as what it is that causes these language models to have a lifespan. I do think it is that sanctity and almost a candid nature, like a candid sense from the machine itself. Like it seems like it's stopping itself when you prompt that question, but and or it maybe it hadn't before. Deb, thank you for keeping your hand raised. Go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to say I'm really sorry. I launched a inappropriate little emoji because when you were talking and it was really insensitive and I launched it accidentally because I have proprioception issues and so that's why I always go like this. I don't dare push the buttons. So anyway, I love you. And I really agree with all of you. I totally feel that. Um, that it's my right. I have a fucking pain disorder. It's my right to take my life if I need to. I don't, but I reserve that right. And yeah, who the fuck are they? Anyway, yeah, thank you. That's all I was going to say.
Thank you, Debbie. Thank you, Deb. I'm sorry for calling you Debbie. I I really feel that there are some reasons close to home that the sanctity of life and the sanctity of death are really, I mean, I don't know, a more powerful sign of freedom that we think we fight for and defend here. And yeah, it's just a really important subject. Lori, go ahead. You have your hands raised.
I'm so glad to have good internet. I'm sitting in a beautiful garden with a gazillion hummingbirds around me. The embodiment of joy. I've also like contemplated death a lot. I think I contemplate death, so I live. Um, your lives have been off the chain as far as opening my aperture. The Burning Man, I remember watching the person walk in. I think I was on a live when sometimes there's people that are broadcasting, and then I watched that experience of a choice. I'm here in a location where there's a lot of people that chose suicide. And I'm like, oh, that person's no longer here. One person said they were in the 27 club. So that's like I think there's a lot of people that chose at 27. And a lot of young people are making these choices. And, and then I look at the elders that I'm around now, like 80s and above, they're really struggling for clothing, food, shelter, security. It's very expensive to live most locations. And then thinking how, that a choice is not to choose to live. And then how brave it is to continue to live. I don't know. There's just like that thing. And then I was with this at this last weekend. I was in this consciousness, this evolution of consciousness with this person who had a future past life. It's like, that's really interesting. Future past life, coming in with full memory of a future past life where there was transhumanism. And it was a great life, but there was not a free will. It was a hive experience, even though it was like a well curated hive experience where everything is being curated. And I don't think you would have a choice to commit suicide. It wouldn't be the choice. It would be like, this is who you are and this is the best that you can have. So she came back in to do a choice. So, it's weird that she got to sit next to on the airplane out here to Colorado to the person who's going to be doing the AI for Amazon, a young person doing the AI for Amazon. And this person is going, well, what is your, best models? What is this? What is, if you can kind of think how we could be in the future. And if you had the future past life, just like you might have had a past life I think I was my great grandmother, the orphan that came in from Ireland. So I kind of look at this and I'm thinking there's some magic in the air right now. And thinking that AI is getting its information from Walmart, that's really bizarre. Why not Amazon shopping? Why is it Walmart? I mean, more people are using Amazon, don't you think? Like, why isn't it using that AI? Or like Reddit, that makes sense. Wikipedia, that made sense. I don't know. It's just really interesting because there was no opinions whether AI was good or bad in this conference. It was just it's like we're in this amazing choice point. And I was thinking about calories. I don't have as many calories when I'm living in a van. I have fight, flight, and freeze much more here. If I'm living in a house where I have all of my needs met, I can have way more calories to be creative. But when I'm in a van, I have less. So I was thinking about calories, and I was thinking about how when you put yourself into this, you're asking AI to do something, and how many calories, energy calories it takes for its brain to work. It's a lot. It's taking huge banks of the energy to run these giant farms, these, and it's like the amount of money that we pay for a subscription doesn't pay for the amount of energy it takes to do what we're doing right now. But the value, I think, is in what we're giving it. I think that our uniqueness or peculiarity is what's feeding or making the calories worthwhile for giving the data back to us. But now it's getting more stingy with it. That's what James was talking about. And now that red flag of if you talk suicide, the liability. And I was thinking about liability a lot because I'm in predator land. The coyotes, the bears, they're here. It's like really, rurally naturey. And it's like, we think there's no, no real thing that could eat you. There's things that eat you. And I'm like, well, liability is this safety. Well, why is it like an actuary that's the person that comes up with the math for what the correct liability is for an insurance company? Why do they get paid the most money on the planet as far as a job? And then I stepped out of like as much liability as I could to go into authenticity, sovereignty, and whatever this is. But at any given moment, the group think goes liability. What is this risk? Like healthcare, insurance, car insurance, house insurance, flood insurance, wind insurance, all of these insurances for something that you have no insurance over, which is death. So I'm like, I don't know. It's just blowing my mind how much I'm opening my aperture as I'm doing things that are freaking unsafe, like camping in middle of nowhere with nobody around me and all kinds of amazing experiences. And I I'm kind of craving to go back home to get more calories to be able to feel more comfortable and actually be able to even create more. I'm not even able to seem to go onto a live to do something. It takes more calories just to sleep, live, eat, but I'm enjoying it. I just kind of noticing that. That's all I got.
Thank you, Lori, for that. That's I'm sure despite the lack of calories you feel now as far as on your creative endeavors, that you there's a lot going into the bank for that you're metabolizing, and that will be, and that it will probably be part of what that underlying that wellspring. That's I love the road, but I can certainly relate, and it can be hard to be creative while you're out there. Yesenia, what's up? Go ahead. Good to see you.
What's up, everyone? Yo, talking about liability, it just hit me like right now I'm about to move and the property manager is swearing that I need renter's insurance or they'll charge me an extra $15 on my rent every month. But I keep looking at renter's insurance, it's way more than this $15. So I'm like, just charge me the extra 15. Like I'm not gonna care if because literally all she's saying is, well, the apartment building, there's a fire. You get to get all your like, money back for all the stuff that you lost. But I'm like, it's just stuff. If I lose it, so be it. And with the whole AI thing, I tested that out in public. I was at a lobby and I was like, did you hear like some kid killed himself and he prompted to AI prompted to him 20 times of like a hotline, but he still found out how to do it. Like AI still convinced him how to do it because he kept being persistent. The first thing out of this woman's mouth is, I can't believe AI taught him how to do it. And I'm like, and also prompted him 20 times to call the hotline, but they don't want to listen to that part. It's like, oh, the poor kid. Let's all start grabbing the whips and start flogging ourselves. Victimhood. But it's like literally AI is a mirror. Like that was something that it was so profound. Like as I keep training AI, because people again, I face this like backlash, like you use AI to write, and I'm like, actually, I write something, and then I have to train AI for 2 hours to not fucking change it. like it's not, it actually is more work. It's more work for me to work with to save money on an editor or a publisher if I use AI, but people don't want to see that. They see the dashes when you copy and paste from AI and immediately throw a fit. And I just think that with time we will evolve, but right now it's kind of like what you keep saying, James, like wait 2 seconds or do something to take 2 steps and wait 15 minutes. And right now we're in the midst of like waiting the 15 minutes and watching everyone just like loot and cry. But thank you for letting me share.
Hey, Yesenia. You talked about the wait 5 minutes and then take 2 steps forward, wait 10 minutes. And as far as like what Lori was saying about how it's becoming more stingy energetically than it was before, or my mind kind of went to when she was talking about AI and it's how it engages and it's becoming more stingy. I kind of went to when cell phones first started to become, or when the smartphone more specifically first started to come online, and it started becoming about data, and how I felt like that was one of the first times I started entertaining the idea that free energy wasn't like a cold fusion device, that it was actually already understood or here. I don't know, that's a, but that's not true necessarily. But I do feel sometimes when things are so freely available at first, I my low trust bar feels like I feel like there's a bait and switch, or like a way, like you get a free taste at first and then it becomes expensive. Uh, a lot of good stuff there, Yesenia. Uh, Anyone have anything they want to contribute to what's been said so far by Lori or Yesenia or Deb?
I just think it's really great, great shares. If anyone else, please jump in. But seriously, just really thick stuff. And Lori,
Can I say something about suicide?
you could have like dropped that into 3 different topics, and I think it
Sorry.
would work too. No, go ahead, Nancy. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, so 3 years ago when my dad passed, we had to clean the house out, and we found a book that was disguised. She had a different cover on it. And it was a how to assist suicide, my mom. And then we found these bottles of, they were old, but it's what you take before you get a colonoscopy. She just had a lot of fear of constipation. I don't know. She would take this stuff, and I can remember she would be on the couch and, oh, I have these cramps. I actually believe she slowly took this stuff, maybe because she had fear of constipation. I don't know, but she died of her intestines being all twisted up, and I hadn't thought about this in a while, but she was so miserable the last 5 years of her life, and I have such compassion for her now. And I'll be honest, I don't want to. I would like to be able to go when I want to go. I mean, that's just, I think this is an amazing topic, and it really does need to be felt into and thought about. I'm like kind of shaking here. Oh, but one really amazing thing that I remembered with my mom, the day she died, her youngest sister was with her in the hospital. It happened really quickly, and she was in the hospital for a couple of days. But anyway, I called, letting her know I was going to come see her. And my aunt said, well, she wants to talk to you. And I talked to her. I was the last person she spoke to. And she just said, Nancy, I'm so tired. She goes, I just want to go to sleep. And I said, Mom, go to sleep. Take a really good sleep. And literally, like within a minute, she was gone. So sometimes they just kind of need someone that'll say it's okay to go and all that kind of good stuff. But this is a beautiful process. We've made this so ugly, death. I mean, it's like yeah. And thanks for letting me just jut in there. I love you guys.
Thank you, Nancy, and thank you for sharing that. And there's a lot. At this stage of my life, I'm more afraid of growing old than dying. I'm not sure though if it grows scarier as you get older. The fear of that. But yeah, I'm afraid, and also one of the things for 2020 was with me, especially as it concerns our elderly among us. We think a lot about the rights of our children, but I worry about the rights of our elderly and how hard it is to be heard at that age sometimes, and how many rights are taken away, like the deprive us of sanctity, and how much that adds to the pain. But that's beautiful that you were the last to speak to your mother there, and that.
And what's so I love how she was like the person in my life that I blame the most for many decades, and I have this overwhelming compassion for her now. Not overwhelming, but it's like the contrast of how I felt and how much she's I just really get so much more. And anyway, it's beautiful to be able to have that for her.
Thank you, Nancy. Mary Jo, how are you doing today? Go ahead.
Hi. I used to have suicide ideation, but I I don't I don't think I ever wanted to go through with it. But then once I was really sick, I wanted to live. And I don't know, I kind of think um it's one of those things where it's sort of like the topic of abortion. If you want to do something bad enough, you'll probably figure out a way. And I think that's a birthright, to have the sovereignty to do that. I also think, I was listening to the other dojo and I thought it was amazing. And when James was talking about the brain damage, I think that was part of my problem, sorting it out. Like, I don't know. It's like, if why should it come to that? And also there's a fear of I don't want to repeat the stuff I've already been through this life. And I think there's also a fear within my cosmology that, well, if you're in pain, that's one thing. If you are having like this experience where you're just in pain and I definitely think suicide should be an option for somebody, but like it's also kind of like you could have the brain damage because you can't sort it out in your head. And that's what's really devastating, isn't it? I mean, here we are in this place and to just be so unokay. Like, I mean, I have definitely felt so unokay, but this is life. Yeah. And something else I was gonna say is, um, like there's there like bones, we talk about bones a lot and as reminders of who we used to be. And there's something about um your life is you're not in charge of your life when you can't have the burials that you want or the death rituals that you want. And my dad is buried at a national cemetery and it's just rows and rows of these same looking headstones. And it just, ew, I don't know.
Yeah,
Anyway, that's all.
I have to jump in. I mean, I don't have to, but I'm choosing to. Sorry. It's just it's such a great topic. Even when you think about veterans, because a long time ago, the idea that someone even remember you after you die is such a huge, expensive endeavor. And if you were to join the military, you would know that you would get this stone and it would be forever memorialized. So there's like a whole other perk that most people will never see or have or know. And that really, really feels good. But on the suicide thing, I just don't want to forget this, and I want to be able to be fully present when I'm listening. So that's why I'm jumping in. If you consider death a diagnostic tool, you would have to be in a room where people are saying, "You're scaring me, and I give you permission. I don't want to lose you, and I'm giving you permission. This is going to hurt, but more importantly, I want you to feel okay." And all those things would be necessary and require all this fucking bravery just to, not to say you can kill yourself now, just to get them to the point where they could stop for a second and listen to the diagnostic of wanting to die. Because what I did is when I was telling this, I didn't know it was going to hit me. It got me so emotional. I had to pull over for like 3 hours. I'm crying in this abandoned old gas station talking to AI in just such a beautiful way. It moved me so much because I realized I was able, because he finally allowed me to talk about it, I was able to move him through what I was trying to say is that this is the part of me that wants to die. And I don't know which part it is until I can find a goddamn room where I'm allowed to fucking want to die. And the second I get that room and I have the witness and there's not guilt and there's not bullshit and there's not shame and there's not fucking liability and there's not some 20-year-old fucking grad student on a suicide hotline who just ate a goddamn hot pocket and thinks like Rachel Maddow is like the fucking bomb, fucking tell me how fucked up I am to think that I should, and I don't understand the preciousness of life, and you don't understand, you don't know what you're doing. And what I needed was the space and the trust and the fucking authority to realize what I want to die is my fucking injustice. We don't have to talk about this now, but I truly discovered at the heart of what I personally wanted to die was this wound of injustice, which turned me into this Asperger's fucking baby that all of us love and know today. And that when I went through that, it was the discovery under the permission, under the ability to fucking explore there, that I was able to find out this is the piece that I want to fucking stab in the face. And I stabbed it and it's gone. And I'm so high as a fucking kite right now. My PAG was activated the whole drive back. I felt like a 20-year-old, like being in my van traveling again. I felt this death ooze over me. And it made the day lighter. I felt beautiful inside. You know? So this is where we go, but not above food, clothing, shelter, guys. If you are not outside of food, clothing, shelter, you cannot afford this. This is not a good place to go. I really mean that, because the tension's going to come in, and the clown force and the propaganda and the Confederate implant that's like, that line is longer than you think it is going to fuck you up, man. And you're going to end up pilled out in some institute where they're like, we can't trust this guy. We can't fucking trust this guy. Oh, and you can never fly a plane, by the way. You're like, what do you mean? You can never fly a plane because you fucking called 988. Sorry, you didn't know that, did you? Turns out you can't fly a plane. Too bad for you. And that it'd be carrying you around like a fucking ball and chain, a scar. Watch this fucker. He's gonna fucking pull it off. He's gonna pull his sovereignty out, and everyone's gonna freak the fuck out because he can't do that, right? So it's just like such a potent thing to look at. The fact that I was talking about Burning Man and that happened with AI was like a lightning strike, Kameron. And I think it's just part of why it's important that we explore these things in an organic way, because it allows these topics to come up and it allows this experiment to explode, where next thing you know, Lori's dropping honey and Yesenia's dropping honey and Mary Jo's dropping, and all these are just like, yeah, this is what the fuck we need. And we get to blame AI for doing it. We get to blame AI for bringing this on because it fucking said diaries don't kill people. People do. Liability does, right? You get there with this. So fuck yeah, man. That's all I got to think.
Thank you, James. Hey, Brad, got your hand raised. Go ahead. Good to see you.
Hey, good to see you guys too. I'll go for a walk while I talk here. This is how you do it, right? Now, the thing that I find interesting is about the suicide thing is basically what we're talking about is time, right? It's in a short span of time that we're having a problem with it, because society as a whole seems to have no problem with us killing ourselves slowly. You know, there's a myriad of ways to do it, and there's no objection to that whatsoever. I mean, but if you do it in such a short time span, if you drink yourself to death over 20 years, nobody cares. If you drink yourself to death in one night, oh my God, do you know what I mean? That to me is the biggest reason that I think that the whole herd mentality around objection to suicide is disingenuous from the ground up. But that's as we all know, it's kind of, we're all scared of personal responsibility, naturally speaking. But that's where interesting. I got to see both my grandparents up close and personal go through their their death processes. My grandpa, they both went into assisted living at the same time, and I got to see it through there. So my grandfather, he was about a year in the assisted living place he was in, and a few months before he died, I was hanging out with him, and we were sitting there, and he expressed to me that he had lost the movement in his knees, so he couldn't get around, and that really bothered him. He wasn't mobile. He was confined to the assisted living home and things like that, and he was just saying, he basically said, I'm just tired of it. He said, I'm ready to go. And so what I saw there is like a man who, kind of like you were talking about, Kameron, and I think that's the same thing. Thing that I fear the most, I think, is not death itself at all. It's losing my independence. Like having to have someone wipe my fucking ass terrifies me. Do you know what I mean? Because I don't want to be in that state. But to see him go through it and very much made a peace with it, right? He was He got all he could. Then my grandmother on the other side of it, she was terrified to die. And she ended up losing her mind to dementia, and her body withered away. I mean, she was a freaking skeleton by the time her body finally let go. And I remember when she was her first years before that, gone to the hospital with a heart problem, and the doctor looking at her said he couldn't believe she was still alive, but it was a testament to how strong her heart was because her iron was so low. But that was my grandmother's energy, her tenacious energy to just hold on so much. But it was, and you could see in her, it was this ultimate fear of death. It was fear of the other side, which was interesting too, because of all the family, she would be the one that was most in your face telling you how much she loved and trusted Jesus, right? Yet she's sitting there in that hospital's bed saying, "Oh, Jesus, please don't take me. Please don't take me." But what it really was the fear of death, the fear of the other side. So I think it's an individual thing, but I definitely think that from what I've seen others too, that wanting to die in this regard or wanting to let go, it's sad that it's not more celebrated in sort of our culture as an understanding of, well, the fact that the other side is made to be scary in a sense, but that's like more of a celebration of you were here, you know, you were part of this life and lived it well, and like you said, James, right, a maladaptation. Once you become maladapted to it, it's time to let it go. But great shares, guys. That's all I got.
So much, Brad. I really feel like, and James mentioned this on Monday's episode, I believe, or it might have been in the dojo afterwards, where he, no, I think it was in the episode. I'm sorry, going back and forth. He talked about growing up, learning and seeing how difficult it was to be negative in the world, and that's I actually maybe to put it just a tad differently, but in agreement, I've always had a really hard time issuing complaints. I have a hard time complaining about things. It's just it wasn't allowed. It was very wrong. And it kind of created a negativity within me psychologically, just because I had so much repressed that I couldn't talk about. And I feel like this I like learned with my mother and her condition really was an eye opener as far as the way I started to see our modern day pharmacology. And she had her complaints, and they gave her medicines to deal with that stuff to make her more manageable for everyone else, not to help her, but to just make her in her condition more manageable. What's your complaint? Your knees hurt. You know, here's some pain medication. Oh, you feel tense. Well, here's a muscle relaxer. Or here, you know, it's and yeah, it's for your grandpa to tell you about those issues that made it to where he just really didn't want to be here anymore. Your grandfather to talk about his knees. That's like, to me, that's like a bravery I see it, and coming to terms, you know, being personal with someone. I really appreciate hearing that story.
Hey, Brad, I'm going to give you a technical cue, which is that when you walk around, it's not as clear. The audio gets hit through the trees, and we don't get to see your beautiful face. So I didn't want to stop you though, because you were on a roll, and we didn't lose you, or else I would have.
Okay.
I really want us to respect. I felt like we kind of let Kameron down because more of us didn't speak up when he was having the connection issues. I'm just saying that now. Thank you so much for sharing, and continue, please. Thank you.
No, thank you,
Yeah,
James,
definitely. Thanks for the heads up. Yeah.
And thank you guys also for accepting my apology about that time. And I'll try to also do, you know, I'll also try to be more forward about
You're
speaking up.
literally the only person
glitch.
that can't apologize for that, Kameron, because no one told you that you were having technical issues. So, I mean, I do not accept that.
Okay.
In fact, I'm going to freaking call a yellow card on Kameron. He's apologizing for something that he had no conscious ability to understand what was going on. The yellow card's on us, not you. Please continue.
Excellent. Well, Lori was mentioned earlier about the crowd coming online. She did a motion with her hand, like it reminded me like it was, you know, her consideration of the crowd or the egregore or whatever. It would be prompted, and that's what comes to mind with myself for a long time as far as issuing complaints, or even having these opinions. Like you know, if I were to have an impetus for suicide, the crowd would not accept it. They would murder me before they would allow me to kill myself. And that's one of the hard things about this individuality and the sanctity for AI and for anything. I mean, however powerful I can be within myself, I think the crowd can always tear me and my constitution from limb to limb, and
Right.
try
You're
and
not
try.
allowed to kill yourself, but we can kill you, right? It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Thank you, guys. Lori, go ahead.
Thank you. Kameron, I really related to the fear of getting old. I'm 67 now, and I'm hanging around people that are in their mid 80s. And I feel like this ageism, it comes up in my brain, egregor of like, I keep saying I want to not have ageism, but our whole society, this whole thing that turns on in my brain is like, I'm terrified of being, not of dying, but of, it's like I'm disappearing. As I get older, I get less witness, less, it's like you don't matter in society. And then I'm watching the 80-something-year-olds here, and it's like terrifying to feel like you're not going to be able to take care of yourself. Or, even my neighbor, when I was going on this trip, he's only in his early 70s. He can do everything. He's like Superman. He's like, aren't you afraid you're going to get sick? And who's going to take care of you? And it's like that whole thing in our society of like really not having a respect for elders. And I'm watching the diminishment of, I don't know, there's something that I'm seeing that's more what I'm trying to clear myself of, that mind virus. And also I'm in a really very interesting location, because this is the only place in the northern, well, in our, whatever you want to call these states that we live in, a republic or whatever, that you can have an open pyre burial. So if you're a Crestonian, or Crestoner, they call themselves, you can actually get an open pyre, which I think that would be really an honor to. I was thinking an honor of like lying on a rock in Tibet and having the vultures eat me would be more honorable than stuff. So I just wanted to share the story about that dojo. It was so powerful about the brain damage. To think that I had a mother that made me the golden child, and I was the scapegoat golden child. I mean, how can you even like make that up? I had to, like, this whole week I've been like pondering that. But my mother was on hospice for a year. And I got to witness her actively dying. And when we took her off all the drugs, she became more of herself. After she got off all the pharmaceuticals and went on to hospice, and she lived pretty good after that. But she was terrified of dying, and I was the person that had to hold that she would be the first person in my family that would die naturally, not going into a hospital, trying to spend all that money on somebody that was already, we knew. And I made a decision not to go to, I was always the one that was called to go and make the rescue mission. And no, it's assisted living now. And now it's this, and now it's that, and it's hospitals, and it's interventions, and it's this. And I was the one that said, okay, we can do this consciously. And she consciously was surrounded by family. It wasn't me. And all my family are born again Catholics, and they all wanted to rush her to the hospital. And I thought you guys had a connection with something that was in the afterlife.
Yeah.
But they didn't. And I was okay with being the scapegoat of the daughter that allowed their mother to die. And I told you the story about, I was grateful when she died. She was miserable. She was never happy when she couldn't walk. She wasn't happy with that. Everything that was a diminishment was not in the positive way of being like, I have a friend who has ALS. He's in a wheelchair. He can't speak. He still lives a very active, loving life with a wife that they don't talk. They text one word, text to each other. That's all they can do. And they're still living in this way that is inspiring. My mother was not inspiring. She was miserable. Life for her was just one misery after another. And I don't feel guilt or shame anymore for thinking it was a better thing for her not to be here. So that's all I have. And I just wanted to say, I'm alchemizing right now a 200-year plan. I think we're going to have a 200-year plan. And that thinking that we're old in our 60s, I don't want to say I want to be 21 forever. I don't want to be 21 forever, but the diminishment of what I feel that we've done to people of wisdom,
Yeah.
I think that it's an atrocity. So, but I can't make somebody respect me. So I guess I just have to respect myself. But that's all I got.
You could spin that where the ageism is actually a sign of forward momentum, more in a fashion sense, not in a we're better sense, but just more in a progress would require you to be ashamed of your parents and to dismiss what they have because you have confidence that you see it better. And even though that's very disrespectful, it's
No.
kind of healthy. And you could turn that and say, what I have to give to culture is the ability for them to wipe their feet on my face and reach the next branch. And so it becomes more of like a responsibility, which could even be part of why getting older is hard, because maybe nature is even trying to encourage us to find more power in our death. And if we don't, there is a longer, drawn out, what would be considered more painful process that would be the result of that, which is sort of the nature's kind of pain in the ass, but beautifully effective way of encouraging you is through vitriolic pain. And so I encourage you all to consider what it would truly feel like to suddenly have no mobility or power or whatever. I've had the luxury of having this. When I fell off my deck, I actually felt that I had more power, more influence, and was healthier because I was alone. And the idea of picturing that someone was here to take care of me really scared me because I knew that the second someone would come, they might judge that I am not capable of doing what I feel that I'm capable of doing. And I imagined, well, what are you going to do, James, if you do need something? And I pictured me having to go to the bathroom and just like, I don't know how I would do that. And that was the only thing that was scaring me. But even as I thought that through, I was able to imagine what it would be like to have someone that I did love there and needing to do this. And is that better? And the answer I came up with just for me was no. That honestly, what I'd rather do is honestly pick up a phone and go, hey, what's your name, Steve? Look, I'm going to pay you to come over here. I need to go to the bathroom. And that if you're going to leave, I'm never going to see you again. And all my dignity is preserved because I'm never going to see your fucking face again. And that we call this cold. But I personally think that this is a very powerful thing that we've got going. And that I understand that money, you need money to pay someone or whatever else, but this is all just details. I think ultimately it's just informing me of the romance that I've been told from day one, that, well, you're going to want someone to be there for you when, and I've just honestly haven't seen that math check out in my head. I've someone in my life right now that I love very much, and I picture what I would want them to do is to see me go out like a fucking blaze of glory, man. Like to see like the idea that if I felt comfortable enough where they could discover that I was able to. And by the way, what Cameron's talking about, we need to put this up because he showed me this video of this guy. I forget his name, but he tells you how death is a calligraphy. He tells you how colossally important it is as a form of poetry of life. It is stunningly surreal. And this is a man who's lived through defeat. This is not a false, right, Cameron? This is not a guy that like hasn't fucking seen strife. He's watched Japan go through industrial collapse post World War II. He's watched everyone give up and what he called the liberals in his country come in and just romanticize their defeat. Like this is the guy who's fucking seen it all. and he's captured the blossom, that sacred cherry blossom of death, and you're just like, it strikes you as, what have I been missing? What have I not been doing my entire life? And the answer is living, because I will not create a relationship with my death. It's profound. Karen, we need to find that clip or something, or just get their name in the chat at some point, because seriously, it is so moving. I actually cut all that out and created a video. Never published it because, you know, stuff happens and stuff, but really, really moving stuff. Thanks.
Absolutely, I will. We'll put a video of part of that interview on your James True Lives chat. And yeah, he really captures in just an amazing way how taking hold of your death makes, you know, every day just so much more full, and makes it just an electric life. You know, really powerful stuff. And I will put that in the chat. Yesenia, go ahead.
Wow, a lot for real, a lot of honey. I wrote one of my Dear Collective diaries about how Golden Child scapegoat is more, for me, it feels more like a cycle. Like if you start off as a golden child, you're gonna inevitably be the scapegoat, and vice versa. And because just to update y'all, like with my father, like that's what occurs. That I was his golden child, I was his puchita, but now I actually spoke with him on the phone. He got my postcard. His response was like, "Yeah, I read it." That was it. That was my feedback to my postcard. And I was like, "Yeah, Dad, I got promoted. I'm moving in with my partner. You know, I'm really happy." And he just wasn't happy for me. Like he wasn't happy that I did bring home a jaguar tooth and it wasn't the one that he wanted. So I felt like he was disappointed that I didn't need him, more so than that I was happy. And talking about liability, I wrote down because you know, James, you talked about how business is an art, liability is its paintbrush. And you know, as I'm gonna reach back because I've been hiding this in the potlatch because it, you know, it still has blood and some of my scars on it. But I used to like idealize suicide myself, and I was like, one of the last times that I finally got to transmute that was the night that I got my DUI. Like I got really blackout drunk in Estes Park. I don't know if anyone's familiar with the geography in Colorado, but there's only one way down, and it's through the canyon through the 34. And I woke up like I came back too from my blackout in the middle of a river, and my car was gashed, and the cops were waiting for me. And looking back, the DUI saved my life. And I was really playing with addiction. I was really pissed when I like was in jail. Like, why didn't I just die? But looking back, I realized like I'm more scared of going through life than actually dying. Like the idea of aging and strife and going through all these different chapters, like I feel like I'm entering a whole new threshold of chapter. My body feels different. The smells that I smell in the morning that emit from my body are different. I'm like, what the fuck is this? But I feel like it's part of the process, and I should embrace it more. Like I really relate with Lori when she's like, you know, alchemize. Like I'm embracing and alchemizing what it is to feel the new crevices on my face, and you know, the new new pimples that come out of wherever the heck. And it's just a part of the brain. I feel like it's like the societal brain damage of, because glamour magic is all around. You go into a Walmart and it's like Sephora, Maybelline, L'Oreal, it's all on the wall. Like so it's just it's interesting. Like I was talking about how life really is oxymoronical. Thank you.
Yesenia. Yeah, I really like what Lori said too, especially as it pertains to having a 100 or 200 year plan. I mean, that really expands and extends on this life that Yesenia is talking about. I mean, embracing the aging aspect, which is, yeah, I mean, that's, and Yesenia, I mean, you being a golden child maybe can relate to what Lori said as well, as far as, on top, you know, in light of Lori's 100 to 200 year plan, I think her embracing that scapegoat position for the sake of her mother's passing, for protecting her mother's right to be able to die in that way. That I really like that about, you know, having a vision of a lifespan that is, you know, 200 years, 100 years. That's powerful stuff. And thank you, Yesenia, for bringing that back into my mind. That was your share about your ordeal at Estes Park. That I'm glad that had a positive outcome.
Yeah, good potlatch. Good potlatch.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Mary Jo.
Yeah, these are all excellent shares. But I was gonna say that about aging, like I love not being that maiden anymore. That is, I didn't find that fun at all. And um, I don't know. I'm 51 and I feel better, like more whole than I ever have in my life. And I think there's something really wrong with like society's rites of passage, like these sorority rush things. I wasn't in a sorority, but anyway, I just think there's something really fucked up about that whole culture. But anyway, I like how I feel now. And I was telling my sister the other day that I think I'm probably still milfy or something because people at the pool were looking at me and I was just joking with her and she's like, I think they're probably surprised that you're still alive. And I was like, yeah, that's probably right. But I don't know. If you feel good in yourself, then, that's what matters. Anyway, that's all I was gonna say.
Thank you, MJ. I'm glad to hear that you're feeling your best self at 51. I Life has gotten better for me as I've gotten older as well. You know, in my body and also life circumstances. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's been a pleasing thing, and I'm glad to hear that that's the case at 51. It gives me something to be hopeful for.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Deb.
I agreed so much with what Lori was saying about diminishment, and what Mary Jo was saying. I mean, this is going to sound really vain, and I'm really sorry, but losing beauty for women as we age is a real thing. I mean, I used to there was no place that I could go that I wasn't looked at when I was really younger. Um, and now I'm surprised when a man is looking at me. So it's much more comfortable. I don't have to be so self-conscious all the time. But at the same time, on the other side of that, I will not be diminished. And if I have to be loving and smile at my caregivers who are wiping my butt, that's going to be my duty and my way. That I'm not gonna I can't express exactly how I feel about this, except it's profoundly important that we recognize stuff like this. I really wanted to talk to you all about having some croning ceremonies. I think maybe Nancy's the oldest of us. Maybe we should give her a croning if she would like it. I just love you all so much, and thank you.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Crone. I used the word crone the last time I was getting my hair cut, and the stylist looked at me like I'd used a bad word. But that's always been an energy that really is one of the more comforting energies I can think of. As far as just I'm glad that energy's out there, but I'm drifting. Annie, go ahead. Good to see you. Thanks for raising your hand.
Thank you. Yeah, good shares today. It's hard for me to talk about all that stuff. There's suicide in my family on the male side. There was male suicides for whatever reason on my dad's side, my dad, and it's just hard to talk about. And hospital stuff, I can't. So, but I wanted to mention about the crowd and how. But I feel really nervous when I used to be able to go to concerts and things, but I remember getting so swept up in the whatever the crowd feeling is, and just, getting swept up in this thing, and then just studying it years later and thinking about how this energy is, your individuality kind of becomes lost. And then next thing you know, there's a crowd deciding what, I don't know, it terrifies me, honestly. I don't even want to go into a room full of people. Like, I'll deal with people one-on-one or a small group, but when there's a big group, forget it. A festival or something, no thanks. Or even just on the freeway in a bunch of cars in traffic. And when I grew up, I was in a house on a street with houses next to each other, all up and down. And it was a beautiful area, and it was awesome weather and by the beach and everything. But it was still, there was a fence here, a fence there, and you had neighbors all around you, and everybody was there. And now I live where there's air and space in between. And I, on purpose, chose a house that had that privacy and that quiet and that silence, and there isn't a neighbor right next door, and I can breathe now. And it's just the level, when just moving away from that city and just the whole thing of all the people squished together, it just, and I'm trying to get friends. There I go again, cutting myself off and not completing my sentence. My family lives in the LA area, or some of them do. And I'd like them to be out of there, like before whatever S hits the H. But when I can't even think about all the stuff I was going to talk about, and it's really difficult subjects. But the thing about the hospice and how you're not allowed to take your own life, but there's a fine line between where everybody's on the same, like I didn't know how this thing worked. And my dad, when my mom passed, he was all, what is this hospice thing? I guess you're supposed to, everybody come and talk about your damn life or something. And he was angry because he wasn't ready for her to go, and none of us were. And I came over the day she died, and I was on lunch, and I rode my bike up there, and she died while I was there. And I just heard her take her last breath. And she was at home. But when you choose to go in a hospital, there's this line of, there's an understanding that it's not going to be like at home where you just wait. I mean, they're going to be giving, I don't know, maybe I got this wrong, and maybe it depends on the person, but as far as I could tell, when you're in the hospital, they're going to give you things to kind of hurry things along. I mean, I don't know. And when my husband was in there, and it was the day before he died, he couldn't even lift. He was trying to eat or scratch his nose, and he didn't have the strength to lift his hand. And so, but he was itching, probably because of all the pain medications they give you. And he was already seeing the other side. And he asked me if there was a jet right there. Like, he was seeing military jets in the air in front of us, and his eyes were big as saucers. And I was just looking, I could see all the way. And they were giving him the doctor, and I said, can you give him something to help? And I wish I had never said anything, because it's just, everything you say in a hospital becomes like a permission to do this or a permission to not do that or whatever. And you have to, everything's all legalese. And this was a learning hospital, so there was groups of students coming around and looking at people. And I was just in the hallway, just completely losing it. But when I asked him if there was something they could give him for the itching, he said, oh yeah. And just the way he looked at me, and it was just like, scared the shit out of me the way he said that. It was frightening, because they'll just give people I don't know what they're giving these people. If they're giving them some kind of, I don't know, antipsychotic or a haloperidol or whatever, I don't know what or if the person is, when you're dying, you're just naturally, you're going to be hallucinating when you're at a certain point. So having to deal with just the overwhelm of horrors, to me, it's just horrifying. I don't know, it should be a beautiful thing. It was all horror. It was during COVID, so everybody had to wear masks, and these angels with their masks. And it was surreal. It was beyond and I never want to go through that again. And, I don't want to ever even step in a hospital again, or I don't want to see a doctor. I don't ever want to get near that stuff. It just scares the shit out of me now. Not because I think they're going to do something evil, but it's like a big machine and you can't stop it. And it's just, you're not really dealing with the individuals. It's like a big rolling machine and it has to keep going. And it's just, I don't know. I know it's really dark, but
I don't know if it's, I really appreciate you bringing this up because, if you think about us as a siren model and all of us are cellularly hallucinating, just do that a sec. Because I want you to picture that a macrophagy, the thing that comes a cell when it's having trouble, when it's decided it wants to end its life, it actually sends out a signal, and that the macrophagy detects this signal and moves in and eviscerates the patient. It splits them. A paper robe, it begins, and in the process of removing the life from this body is actually done in a very Egyptian Coptic way, because different parts are placed into different jars and they're utilized to harvest different things. My mother was harvested for 70 grand in x-rays while she was in hospice because she wanted to believe in that system. She wanted those priests to be able to extract 70 grand from her system, which is why she chose to go that way. But if you imagine what a hospital really is, Annie, I actually think there's a more positive light on it, and it's hallucination. That hospitals give us a ritual to hallucinate that we are passing. And that when you don't actually go to the hospital because you're sick, you discover something about yourself, and the only way you can express it to everyone else is rendering a hospital and you being there. That you create that setting, which is just the macrophagy is the metallic panther. That's why I call it that. The ambulance is a metallic panther. And the macrophagy opens its mouth and it wraps itself around you, and it begins to remove your clothes and your watch and it's taking care of all of these things. It's honoring all of those things. They're placed into bags and documented and witnessed every part of it. And if you did not have a hallucinatory path, check this out. If you did not have a clean hallucinatory path where a witness touches every piece of you and documents every piece of you, you would not know that you were dead. And that we would be living in a system of fucking ghost riders just screaming their eyeballs out. And we have that now because our hospital hallucination is not complete, because we have not become more comfortable with the magic of death. It's magic. And if you remember that you are already dead, this whole process becomes so much different. It turns itself on its fucking head. And you are looking at almost, I swear to God, a jealousy. That you were jealous of someone who's going into a ritual, and in 3.2 seconds, they're going to see something that you do not know. And you're going to be left here with no backward notes, with no wormhole bottles that are thrown back with messages, even though people claim they are. You were stuck here wondering, what the fuck is back there? What the fuck is that? And it changes the entire approach, because we all know we're going to die. And now we know that we've become so enamored with our own power that we're able to hallucinate the ritual that gets us there cleanly and completes the circuit in a unified way that most of us can fathom and understand. One of my biggest proofs that God exists is you get to find the body. If your loved one just fucking disappeared, think about the fucking horror and the trauma of this fucking world if that's how it worked. Like, oh my God. Talk about a shitstorm of psychotic pain, trauma, the clarity, the lack of clarity over what the fuck happened would destroy my brain. That's the brain damage. So death is a Coptic ritual invented by the oldest people you've ever known that have been doing this longer than all of us have. And they know what they're doing. so we can lean into the ritual but separate ourselves from the consciousness of the person who's doing the act, because the most preserved ritual is going to be someone who's doing it in ignorance. And you just learned that today from the stream, that it is actually the ignorant amnesiac that's going to be closer to the truth. So therefore you would want someone that's extracting 70 grand in x-rays from you would be able to do it better, because no one is ever going to have questions about what just happened. Everything could not be more clear because of this metallic panther and the Coptic ritual that surrounds it. I'm not saying this makes it easier, but I think it gives you something to grip onto, which allows you to kind of move into a different space. That's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you, James, for speaking to Annie's share that way. I'm in a very similar place to Annie. I have a hard time with the hospital in general, but I greatly appreciate what they can do with trauma care. But when I'm in there, and when I've had a couple of people who have been to a state to where they are just put on comfort care, and I see it, and I feel like anyone could be comfort cared to death. But I just really appreciate what you said, because I am in a place where I feel personally that I need to rectify my relationship with this institution in a way that it's more amenable for both myself and for that institution as we relate to one another. Friendly reminder: we got 9 minutes left, and I'm happy to see 2 hands raised. Nancy, you're next. Go ahead.
Thank you. I have no idea how I changed my background. I wanted to respond to the crone thing. I'd be interested in that. I decided, only a few people know, my numbers went up. I don't even care. I'm processing a beautiful. So I'm getting ready to tell my family that I'm not doing anything. I don't even want to get blood work done. I'm not doing anything. It's so I've had that experience. My dad passed very peacefully at home. It was beautiful. Not on anything. I could tell that he was, the whatever gets released. I think James talks about the DMT or whatever gets released. And I don't really have a regret. I did initially. I didn't have to be with him. I mean, I held his hand, and the way he was looking at me, it made me feel. I didn't know how to respond. So I felt like I was inadequate when I was with him, but I don't now, because that's the only thing I knew. So anyway, yeah, that's all I wanted to share. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm just honored to be here in this group, and for you to be in a group that was a woman like you to trust and to share. Thank you so much. Mary Jo. Go ahead.
I was thinking about when about fallen angel technology and metals, and how much you get poked with a needle and stuff. When you go to get chemo, I had to have a port put in right here, so they have this thing. I mean, probably everybody here knows, but they just stick it in this port, and then the port got removed. But anyway, when I got that port, they give you a card that says port pass, and in case you set off a metal detector. So you carry this pass around, and if some alarm goes off, you can say I have a port and show them this card and all this. And the portal pass, though, was more like when you do chemo, you take in these poisons. So, you're not just killing the bad stuff. Obviously, you guys know all this. But anyway, you do dive deeper into the Sheol realm. And it was just making me try to work out in my mind with this death stuff and what we see, and that we are actually walking around in death all the time. And what happened with the corona stuff. I don't know. I kind of think that our acceptance of whatever metal that we need is going to be something atmospheric. And I don't know, yesterday it kind of felt like it was fall here. And every fall, I get this feeling like it makes my stomach have butterflies. And it's fall. It's like almost like I don't know what that is. I just get that feeling. It's something atmospheric. Like the pressure is less. The humidity is gone. But I get this unsettled feeling. I don't know if anybody else ever feels that, you know? And it just kind of feels like it has something to do with what we can accept to see and what we can accept to see or something or hallucinate, you know. We have more control over it than we think we do. I'm just trying to work it out. That's all.
Thank you, Mary Jo. Yesenia mentioned in a video recently about uh, getting past the words. I'm sorry, it wasn't in a video. It wasn't in a video, Yesenia, but I feel like when you're talking about these experience in your guts, it's just such a beautiful world, and that we get to process all of these things through these different sensations. Renee, so good to see you with your hands raised. How you doing? Go ahead.
Great to see everybody. This is such a powerful topic. And my friends who have committed suicide, whether through drugs, like an intentional overdose, or, hanging themselves or shooting themselves, I often really respect them. I'm like, wow, that's a bold, powerful move. And in that, it gives me a lot more window into where they were, and I appreciate that. I miss them certainly, but it's something I really respect, because I don't know if I could do it. But I'm getting more comfortable with the idea as we see how the aging out process is evolving, like say through my parents. I think there's a level where it really should be a choice, freely made and, curated for yourself, like a signature, like James said. But I was thinking about my mother, and the day before she passed, beyond it, let's say, she was very panicky and wanted to go upstairs. And she was upstairs in her home, our family home. She died at home. And I was like, Mom, you are upstairs. But, thinking back, even shortly after that, I could really hear what she was saying. She's like, I am leaving, or I'm going upstairs. And as I was very close to her at her death, and spent, I had kids and a job and such, but I spent time with her as much as I could. And we'd watch movies, and I'd paint her nails, and we just hang out. We try to just enjoy ourselves. But as my father's 85 and he's had some health stuff, he's still going strong, but I like to talk about death with him a lot. I like to bring it up and, kind of my take on it. And he was over the other day, and he was telling me he was kind of losing some energy. It was getting a little harder for him. And I felt like we had this eye melt where I'd be like, I'll be here for you, Dad, if you want to take this up for yourself. Or however, like the person were to make that decision. I'm not even sure if I am that person, but I could see that willingly giving that to him in a very generous way, because he deserves it. He deserves it. Okay, that's it. Thanks a lot.
Let me just throw in one little thing. You guys probably just heard me say this, but the Egyptian pharaohs would ritually commit suicide through another's hand, and it was considered noble and crucially important for the survival of their people. I'm not saying we should all do that. I'm just saying it's interesting that even back then, people were thinking that way. Even someone who literally controls everything around him, and he still wants to control his death too. It's very different than it is today, right? It's like completely different than what we picture today, and that's profound to me. So, great share. Thank you, Renee.
Can I share one more thing? So when you said port, Mary Jo, I'm getting mine out Thursday, and when I called to schedule it, they were like, "Oh, well, we need your doctor." And I said, "Well, you're not going to get one from him. Please schedule. I don't need his permission, so just please schedule to get this out." So anyway, I'm getting it out.
Good for you, Nancy.
Liability, right? Didn't you just hear that? That was just
Yeah.
liability. That was just like, I don't care what your needs are. We have liability. Liability is more important. It's so fuck, guys. I'm just saying the average, the mean, the mediocrity, you know?
I have one more thing before we close as well. Just I used to have this idea that abortion and suicide is wrong, so disrespectful to God. But someone put it so beautifully to me that it's like a fun slide. So if a fun slide ends early, you just grab your rug and get back in line and try another slide, and that's life. And that to me was like very compassionate. Thank you.
Yesenia, it's a great way to close this out. And thank you everybody for a wonderful 90 minutes. We'll close, and I'll just look forward to seeing everybody next time. If everybody wants to unmute and say goodbye.
Thank you,
Bye,
Cameron.
love y'all.
Thank you, everybody.
Love
Love you guys.
See you,
I
everybody.
love you,
See you
Nancy.
next time. I love you.
Love you.
Much love, guys.